I'm Riley Chow, and I'm here with Amanda Spears, Charles Bright, Tom O'Brien, and Zach Laws, and we are talking about Best Guest Actor in a Drama Series for the 2018 Emmys. The nominees are F. Murray Abraham for Homeland. He submitted the episode All In. Cameron Britton for Mindhunter for episode 2. Matthew Goode for The Crown for Matrimonium. Ron Cephas-Jones for This Is Us for A Father's Advice. Gerald McRaney also for This Is Us for the episode The Car. And Jimmy Simpson for Westworld in the episode Reunion. Tom, I feel like you're a Jimmy Simpson fan. Do you think he has any chance?
I think he does. It's interesting. The first season, he was kind of our eyes and ears. He was the good guy who got off the train early on and put on the white hat, and we got to see Westworld through his eyes. Then gradually we began to realize who he was and who he was going to turn out to be. I'm not quite sure he quite has the scenes that someone like Ron Cephas-Jones might, but I think he definitely has a shot, because I think the actors like Westworld. It still did 21 nominations and a large number of acting nominations, so I think he's got a shot.
I just feel like he and Matthew Goode are just too young, even if they are in their early 40s.
Well, I was going to say, go ahead, Amanda.
No, you go.
Well, I was just going to bring up, even despite Jimmy Simpson's youth, he is like a veteran character actor. I mean, I was just rewatching Zodiac the other day, and I forgot that he was in that. So, I mean, that's how long this guy's been around and working. So, I mean, I think that he certainly has built up enough cachet to pull off a victory. And let's also not forget that he was on the Emmy ballot 3 times this year, including for Black Mirror, which I think he had a good chance of actually getting in for. So I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that he would win. I think the real question is if people actually, in spite of the number of acting nominations that Westworld got, if people look at Westworld as like an actor's show.
And I would agree, but I think Matthew Goode is that British actor who's just really never gotten the attention that some of his compatriots around his age have. He's been in so many things. He's been in Downton Abbey, The Good Wife. He's been on Dancing on the Edge. Was in Atonement. He was in Match Point. He was in The Imitation Game. And he's been in a couple Best Picture nominees. He's had decent roles in those. So he's not unknown. And before everyone starts calling me a xenophobe, I just got a little curious, and he would be like the first Brit to win this. Well, yeah, he would technically be the first Brit. The last one for Columbo was Born in America. And so they tend to like American actors in this category. And using that fact just to base a prediction around is not the same thing as banning people from a country. Just say. It's just something you start to notice. 40 people.
Okay.
Hey.
Thinking of the age argument, I mean, Jeremy Davies was 42 when he won Guest Actor for Justified. And that was surprising for a whole lot of different reasons, but I think it was just for the haircut that he had alone. The other thing about Jimmy Simpson is he has been working for so long, and he's one of those people who you've seen in so much. I always still remember. It's funny. Just before we started this, Zach, we were talking about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and I still remember him as one of the McBoyle twins on Sunny, and how creepily he played that. And whenever I would see him in something other than Sunny, I would be like, oh God, him.
and the name that I was talking about, the last Brit to win was Patrick McGoohan for Columbo.
That was a long time ago.
1990.
Took me a while to get to that on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I had it in my notes, but I was looking at Matthew Goode's extensive resume. So
Matthew Goode is someone who I could also see, winning this. The guest acting categories have thrown us so many curveballs over the years. that, you know, sometimes someone with an obvious episode will win, you know, like a John Lithgow, or hell, I would even put Christian Clemenson in for his first hit when he won for Boston Legal for that, because I thought he stood heads and shoulders over everybody else in that category.
Paul McCrane from Harry's Law, he had a great
he had a great episode.
That episode, like if you saw that, you're like, oh yeah, he starts stripping in the middle of the court. That was a great episode.
So I mean, it kind of, you know, any one of these could make sense, and of course they could also just go, you know, for Gerald McRaney again, though they really don't go for repeat winners.
And I actually have that stat up.
Well, the last repeat winner in this category was for 2 different shows. That was Charles S. Dutton. He won for The Practice in 2002, and then Without a Trace in 2003.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, just I know you've got this figure in front of you, but just in the last 2 years alone, like we saw Reggie Cathy win in 2015 for House of Cards, then lose the following year for House of Cards to Hank Azaria. For Ray Donovan, who then lost the following year for Ray Donovan to Gerald McRaney. So, you know, just because he's in this category again this year for an Emmy Award-winning role doesn't mean that he's going to win again. I'll also say about Matthew Goode, and this is something that could also work in, say, Cameron Britton's as well. Favor, yes. Thank you for reminding me of that word. That you know, he is in 3 episodes of The Crown, so I mean, he made a pretty memorable impression, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he's not insignificant in this season.
And the one thing that I worry about for Cameron Britton and F. Murray Abraham is they're not in a nominated series. And again, we saw last year a complete lockdown of all the drama categories went to one of those 7 shows. And I would love for Cameron Britton to win, but B.D. Wong was great in Mr. Robot last year.
I think, though, that may have been just, I mean, it is something that causes pause, but I mean, the voting system didn't really change between 2016 and 2017. Am I right about that?
No, but
yes, that's correct.
It stayed the same.
We've never seen that before, where there's been this complete shutdown in all those categories.
But the immediate year before that, we did have shows that were not in drama series. Like then in this very category, when Hank Azaria won, you know, Ray Donovan wasn't up for drama series. So that may have just been an anomaly for that year. It very well may be that may be a new trend, and we might see another shutout of non-drama series contenders winning. Or seeing them not win.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there because it is something to consider when you're making your rankings. And then another thing is that if This Is Us really had a severe dip in nominations, where they're basically in this category and they're in lead actor, maybe it's not as strong as it was. Maybe Ron Cephas Jones, and it'll break my heart. I think he's great on that show.
Yeah.
Maybe it is Matthew Goode. Or Jimmy Simpson.
Well, the thing that works in Ron, were you going to say something, Riley? I didn't mean to.
Yeah, sure. I'll say the dilemma for me in this category is that I do think that the field has changed since last year, and I think that's the difference between Reggie Cathy winning once and winning twice, is that the second year he was nominated, he was up against Mahershala Ali and Paul Sparks, and I don't think he had enough support on his own to carry the whole House of Cards block, if such a thing existed. And I think that Ron Cephas Jones is playing a very popular character, as is Gerald McRaney on This Is Us. So I don't see how they can possibly split votes, or not split votes. And with This Is Us obviously being down from last year, I think that votes poorly for them. Who I would look to is Cameron Britton. But to Amanda's point about how Mindhunter is not nominated anywhere else. And I do think that you can win if voters have an awareness of your show. Like Ray Donovan still picked up a lot of nominations that year.
Directing. It got directing. Yeah. That was its big year at the Emmys, was the year Hank won.
But we have seen like really acclaimed guest performances like Laurie Metcalf in Horace and Pete, where she couldn't alone carry, just through the popularity of her performance. So I can't tell, did people kind of see Mindhunter and then they just didn't vote for it anywhere else, or is it just Horace and Pete where they didn't see it?
I can tell you that did happen not too long ago. I think it was 9 years ago when Michael J. Fox won this category for Rescue Me. Rescue Me was not nominated anywhere else
but that
year.
wasn't a panel vote, so that's a completely different.
That's true. That's true.
That's 80 people were signing affidavits saying I watched these episodes. It's how Paul McRaney beat Michael J. Fox. So, for me, I really think that if The Crown might be running in third place right now for drama series, this could be one of those first victories that makes you go, maybe we're underestimating it. And this is almost like an episode solely focused on his character. It really shines a light on this man and his life and everything he's doing in a way that I think it could help. And they have really loved recently in all acting races, actors playing real life people. And this is somebody who just passed away a year ago. Then it was announced Matthew Good was going to play him. So I kind of think, he's been in movies with Benedict Cumberbatch and Thomas Hiddleston and all those other Brits. It would be nice to see the one who's been kind of, second tier get his. He really deserves better than what he's got. So he's deserved more attention.
I totally get that. The 2 points I'd like to make is, one, Jimmy Simpson has worked with so many people over the years, young as he is. Sometimes that in a tight field, if you've worked with this guy before and you like him, that might be enough. The other thing is that it is striking that the actors went in and singled out Cameron Britton for a show that got no other nominations, but they went in and they found him. So there may be a bit of passion on that side. Whether that's enough to win a General Emmy, I don't know, but it is striking.
He's also somebody, I think it should be mentioned, when we bring up a person like Laurie Metcalf, who got a nomination for Horace and Pete, Laurie Metcalf didn't just come out of nowhere to get that nomination. Laurie Metcalf had 3 Emmys already, and she was well known. Cameron Britton is a totally unknown actor, so they just nominated him off of the performance alone, not off of like his decades worth of work. The way that, say, like a Bill Camp is somebody who's, been around for a while. We just didn't really know who he was until the night of. So, you're right, Tom. There could be that kind of passion there. It would certainly make me happy, and I know it would make a lot of other people happy. But it is troubling that the show didn't get nominated anywhere else. Yeah. Now, then again, these are just actors voting, so maybe that doesn't matter.
It is an uphill hurdle being your show's only nomination.
I agree with you totally, yeah.
And I think Gerald McRaney didn't just have a knockout episode last season. He had a narrative, and the narrative was, here is this TV veteran from 40 years who's never been nominated or won. And we drove it home. You had the stars of the show tweeting this. I think by the time it got around, it's like everyone's just like, oh my gosh, of course I'm going to vote for him. And
that reminds me of, actually,
I don't know if Ron Cephas-Jones has that kind of narrative. And I agree with Riley. I think they could split the vote because he was still really great in his episode.
The narrative that I think would work for Ron Cephas-Jones is the fact that he was nominated in supporting last year, and I think probably came really close to winning it had it not been for John Lithgow. So, if you want a narrative, that's it, right? Just like, hey, we didn't get you last time. We're glad to see you came back despite the fact that you were dead. And who knows? The way this show is going Emmy-wise, this might be the last chance we ever get to give you anything. And also Ron Cephas-Jones is one of those people that's been around for a while and working steadily and finally got his big break. So actors could really respond well to that. I think that's why he got nominated in the first place. One person I would, we haven't really talked a lot about, and
haven't mentioned at all.
Yeah, and he could Margot Martindale his way into this. F. Murray Abraham, like Oscar winner, the only Oscar winner in the category.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's an absolute masterpiece, and I think there's a lot of people who are glad to see him working steadily again. you know, because I think he's the kind of person who really had to age into himself. Like,
Yes.
he was never going to be a leading man, and he was always going to be kind of a character actor. And now he's working more than he ever has before. He was even on Curb Your Enthusiasm this year, which I think probably helped him get nominated. So, you know, I mean, we've seen before that it doesn't matter how short your performance is if you're a well-liked actor, and more importantly, if you're in a category that has no front runner. Like last year, we had a clear front runner in Gerald McRaney. This year, it seems to be all over the place. You know, he could come right up the middle with just enough of the vote to win this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he can very much win. I don't think Matthew Good and Jimmy Simpson have any chance, actually, but I am very worried about F.R. Abraham.
I think that Matthew Good does have a chance because they're paying attention to Vanessa Kirby's character. And Princess Margaret has been such a talking point all season long that I do think by default they've seen his episodes.
I think it's just like slap the stud, as Tom always says. And I think it's also so many points removed. Like, he's like, you're a fan of The Crown, you vote for Claire Foy, and then you also like her sister and you like her husband. I don't know. It just seems like even I think the Emmy voters would have to be really big fans of The Crown for that to happen.
Well, they clearly are, because they did better acting-wise than they did last year. And it's not like HBO. This is a category HBO's only won once. So Jimmy Simpson has like a big uphill hurdle. Yeah, HBO last one in 2008 for Glenn Thurman for In Treatment. Like that, it's been 10 years. They've had some nominees, but I think it would be nice to see, you know, we saw Alexis Bledel. She's the youngest winner ever in that category last year, like a week before her 36th birthday. So maybe they don't care as much about the age thing anymore.
Well, I mean, the difference there is of gender. I mean, we always, it's,
you know,
I hate to be crass about it, but not only is it slap the stud, but it's also kiss the ingenue, you know what I mean? And Alexis Bledel is still very much an ingenue.
But when you look at the past winners for like the past 10, 15 years in that category, Alexis Bledel sticks out because she's the only one who's like under probably 45.
But in overall acting winners, though, I mean, you know, yes, we can look at this one category, you know, the Margot Martindale category, as we should call it. But, you know, I mean, in overall acting categories, you still have people like Elizabeth Moss or Tatiana Maslany, and you know,
we also seen Viola Davis win. They're a little better.
She's hot. Come on, she's.
But they're better about the age.
That's a beautiful woman.
They're better about the age thing than like the Oscars usually.
She looks like she's 37 years old. Come on.
Going off the age thing, like the last three winners in this category, who are the ones who've won in a popular vote, are Reggie Cathy, who's actually dead now, Hank Azaria, and Gerald McRaney. So yeah, I think F. Abraham, he's the respected veteran of the group. And even though he only had one scene this year that didn't actually add anything to the plot, I think he might have gotten his nomination largely because of what he did last season, in which he was the big bad, the villain of the season. So if people are behind on Homeland, then they could vote for him because of that.
And he has what Tom O'Neill always calls snob appeal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's the Oscar winner, and in a wide open field, that might be enough.
And by the way, I mean, he managed to get in over Beau Bridges for Homeland. Beau Bridges, who gets nominated for waking up in the morning and putting on a cup of coffee. I mean, so
I don't know how to make coffee. That might be impressive.
I'm having some coffee too. I'm hoping I get an Emmy nomination.
Yeah, we need to watch out for that Beau Bridges in the future, because that's 3 years in a row now for 3 different shows that he's missed in this category. So maybe the Emmys have moved on from him and Ellen Burstyn.
I can't believe it.
And Margot Martindale. Where's Margot Martindale been lately at the Emmys?
Oh wait, no, I thought he was nominated in the last 3. Well, he was nominated in 2015. He wasn't nominated in a popular vote. Never mind. Sorry, I knew he's been nominated before. I just couldn't remember if it was 2016 or 2015.
Yeah, F.R. Abraham, he keeps coming in and out of this category because when he's in supporting, he doesn't get nominated, just like Margot Martindale.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How long can we go without talking about Margot Martindale? Do you think we can do drama guest actress, Riley, without you mentioning her?
We can try, yeah.